Bessie Coleman, the first Black woman who conquered the clouds. In the early morning hush when the world is still wrapped in the gray shawl of dawn, a young girl named Bessie Coleman steps out into a field of red dirt in rural Texas, her bare feet brushing the cool earth and her eyes lifting toward the open sky above her. The sky is wide and endless, and it holds a kind of magic she cannot name yet, but even as a little girl she feels it tug at her spirit like a whisper calling her toward something far away, something daring and bright, something meant only for her. She grows up in a world divided by lines she never agreed to, lines that separate the powerful from the powerless, the rich from the poor, the white from the black. Her family works the land, and she works the land with them, cotton fields stretching as far as she can see, and the sun laying heavy across her shoulders while her hands move through the rows. She dreams even as she works, and every time she lifts her face toward that blue, unreachable distance, her heart rises with it, because the sky is the only place she has ever seen that does not push her down. But the world around her is harsh, and the voices she hears do not speak of dreams for girls like her. They tell her to stay small, stay quiet, stay where she belongs. But something in her refuses to bend to that shape. She studies hard, walking miles to a small schoolhouse, her books held close because they are a kind of key. They will open a door someday if she can just hold on. When she is older, she moves to Chicago, a city alive with movement and hope and struggle. She works as a manicurist in a barbershop, her hands shaping the nails of men who talk about their adventures in the war, men who talk about flying machines that roar through the sky like metal birds, men who describe the rush of wind and the freedom of soaring above the clouds. And the moment she hears these stories, something inside her ignites. She wants the sky more than anything she has ever wanted in her life. She wants to fly where no woman in her family has ever flown, where no Black woman in America has ever flown. So she decides she will become a pilot. She says it simply as if it is the most natural thing in the world, as if the world will not laugh in her face. The barber who hears her does not laugh. He looks at her with a quiet admiration, and he tells her exactly what she needs to hear. If no one in America will teach a Black woman to fly, she must learn somewhere else. So she begins to gather strength, money, courage, everything she has. She works long hours, saves every coin, and studies French so she can apply to flight schools in France, the only schools that will even consider her. Her determination frightens some people, inspires others, and confuses many, but she does not stop. She has tasted the idea of the sky, and nothing will pull that from her mouth. The day she boards the ship to France, she carries nothing but a small bag and a fire in her chest. The ocean stretches out before her, vast and unknowable, but she is not scared. She stands at the railing with the cold wind on her face, and she knows this is the path meant for her. Even if she walks it alone, France welcomes her in ways America never did. The flight school instructors watch her with skepticism at first, but not for long, because Bessie is fearless. She learns quickly. She moves with focus. Careful hands, strong arms, steady eyes, she handles the aircraft with a grace that surprises even her teachers, and when she takes her first solo flight, the world falls away beneath her. The earth shrinks and the sky opens wide, and she feels something she has never felt before. She is finally where she belongs, up there. The pain of her childhood, the sting of racism, the weight of poverty, the limits placed on her life, all dissolve into nothing. The engine sings beneath her, and the wind wraps around her like a promise. She is Bessie Coleman, and she is flying. She becomes the first Black woman in the world to earn a pilot license, and when she steps off the ship returning to the United States, she feels powerful. She carries the wings that no one thought she could ever claim, and she intends to use them to change the world for those who will come after her. But America has not changed just because she has earned her place in the sky. She knows no school will hire her to teach. She knows no air shows will book her as an equal. So she decides she will not wait for an invitation. She will create her own path. She learns stunt flying because it is the only skill that will draw crowds. She trains through fear, cold, exhaustion, and doubt until she can barrel roll, loop, and dive with breathtaking mastery. Crowds gather wherever she performs. They gasp as she climbs higher than anyone expects, then dives toward the earth with bold grace. She becomes a sensation, a star, a symbol. Her presence alone shatters expectations. Her smile gives hope to children who have never seen anyone who looks like them touch the sky. But even with all her fame, she never forgets where she came from. She refuses to perform at any event where Black people are forced to enter through a separate gate. She says if they cannot walk through the same door, then she will not fly at all. She stands firm and holds her ground and changes policies with the strength of her refusal. She travels across America speaking to children, to families, to communities, telling them to dream bigger than the world tells them to dream. She plans to build a flight school for Black men and women, a place where no one will be turned away, a place where the sky will belong to everyone. Her dream is enormous and beautiful, and she works for it with everything she has. Yet one spring day in Jacksonville, Florida, as she prepares for another performance, she climbs into an aircraft with her mechanic. The sky is calm, the air is warm, but fate can be cruel. The plane malfunctions and spirals, and Bessie is thrown from her seat. Her body falls through the open sky that once held her so tenderly, and the earth rises to meet her with unforgiving force. The news spreads across the country like a cold wind. People gather with tears in their eyes, unable to accept that someone as brave as her, someone who fought gravity and hatred and doubt, could be taken before her dream was fulfilled. But something strange happens in the days that follow. Her dream does not die. In fact, it grows. Hundreds of pilots, thousands of young dreamers hold her name in their hearts. They tell her story to one another. They teach their children about the woman who would not back down, who would not bow her head, who refused to accept a world that tried to cage her. Years later, flight schools open in her honor. Airwomen say her name before they take their first solo flight, and somewhere far above the clouds where she once danced with the wind, you can almost imagine her smiling. Her story becomes a lantern passed from one generation to the next, lighting the way for those who feel trapped by borders, by prejudice, by poverty, by fear. She becomes proof that the sky is not owned by the powerful, it is owned by the brave. Even now, when a young girl stands in a quiet field and looks up at the endless sky with longing in her heart, something ancient and warm stirs in the wind. Something whispers her name and reminds her that impossible things are possible, that the sky is wide and welcoming, and she too has a place in it. In the legacy of Bessie Coleman, there is a message carved deep into the air itself. If you are told you cannot fly, rise anyway. If you are told doors are closed, find another door or build one yourself. If you are told you do not belong, lift your face to the sky and remember her. Remember the girl born in a world built to silence her, who chose instead to rise higher than anyone expected. Remember the woman who crossed oceans, learned a new language, battled prejudice, and claimed her wings. Remember the pilot who danced among the clouds and refused to let anyone decide the size of her dreams. Her courage still echoes across the sky, carried on the wind, still guiding those who dare to believe that the world can be more open, more fair, more free. And every time a plane lifts from the runway, rising into the wide blue above, you can feel her presence in the air, a quiet strength, a reminder that bravery can change not just one life, but millions. Because Bessie Coleman did not just fly, she broke the sky open so others could follow her through it.